Space. I'm Kim Kral. I am reporting to you not live from my closet. It's so funny. If you saw me right before I record these, I'm so mad. And then I take a minute and I'm like, I'm just really bad at technology. Like, I guess, I don't know. Like, it's funny. Like, I'm not bad at tech. Like, I'm better than, I guess, the average person, but that doesn't say a lot. You know what I mean? Like, how I'm like, I know I'm smarter than the average person, but the average person is dumb. So it's not saying a lot. I'm not putting down myself there. I don't need any messages that are like, you're not dumb. I know I'm not dumb, but I'm saying like, I venture out into the world, not really, but like the virtual world, and talk to people about where they're at technologically speaking. I can't say that word. I have a few words that are just not things I can say. But I like technologically speaking, and like most people don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so, oh God, the breathing's starting. Good Lord. And I think the breathing starts too because I get really super mad right before I get in here. Cause it's a lot of setup, and it's, once we get going and it's cool, it's fine. But like, it's, and then sometimes I wonder when I will someday figure out how to get into this closet comfortably. Or maybe one day I will have more room in my closet. I don't know. I feel like as I get older, I get more and less stuff, right? Hey guys, how are we? I've developed a tiny cough, which is fun. COVID update. My breathing is all right. It's still, I still get super winded really easily, and I can't really be around a lot of stressful stuff because like when you're stressed or you're anxious, your chest, like in normal times, your chest closes up. And so my chest is already pretty closed up. So when I get stressed out, I'm like, oh, I can breathe. Cool. Which is awesome because it's forced me to like push stressful people away more. I don't really have a lot of stressful people in my life anymore. Like I just don't really, like, I look back at like how many just how much drama I had around me, and how I just kind of thought that was just like, well, that's just humans, I guess. And now it's like, no, normal people aren't, like healthy, non-toxic people. Like I said last week, a good friend of mine and I had a little bit of a conflict. And what's cool is that like in my growth, I used to, like, the way I was raised was just, very black and white thinking. And like, there it is. There's the breath. It takes about 4 or 5 tries to get a real breath in. It's really exciting. But how I was raised, it was like, very black and white thinking. And also everything was a fight. Any kind of disagreement was a fight. There wasn't just like healthy disagreements where it was like, oh, we don't see eye to eye on this. Why don't we have a discussion? It was like, someone was really upset. Things were thrown, abuse happened, it was scary shit. So like last week I had a disagreement with a friend, and we were talking afterwards, and it wasn't like, there was just some miscommunication. She's one of my best friends in the whole world. Like I write down every day that I'm grateful she's in my life. So like, it's so interesting. We both have this similar thinking of like, burn it down and walk away. I say burn it down and walk away. And she says something like, God, I can't remember what she said, but it was so goddamn funny. It was like, like set the ship on fire and jump off and swim to shore. Like we both have the mentality of like, well, this is over, better set it on fire. And we're both like really, we're on this like journey together, and it's really fucking rad. And we just had a miscommunication, and we were able to talk about our feelings around it, how the other one made, each of us feel. Like I was able to be like, you made me feel like this. And she was like, you made me feel like this. And then we were like, all right, what can we do in the future to not hurt each other's feelings or not feel like, like, just like, how can we solve this in the future? Because we care about each other. And it was so fucking lovely. And afterwards we talked about how just like the difference between having a discussion with a person that is like healthy and having like a discussion and like a boundary talk with someone who is healthy and having a boundary talk with someone who's not healthy, right? Like if you have a boundary talk with someone who's not healthy, they get really defensive. There's a lot of gaslighting involved, and like, well, I only do that because you're like this. You know what I mean? There's a lot of weird defensive behavior, and it's always an argument, and it's never, it's not, it's always an argument. It's not, and it ends with like and most of the time, not most of the time, but most of the time it either ends with you going, never mind, I don't need to do that boundary or friendship over, right? Or relationship over. But when you have a boundary talk with a healthy human, oh God, here we go, Maryland along the reefs of rain. I find if I like sing a little bit, it like relaxes my breathing. Fuck me. But if you have a discussion or a boundary talk with a healthy person, it's like not, it's a discussion and it's loving and it's not like, well, fuck this, you know, it's very much like it, like I see like unhealthy people discussions is like yelling across the table at each other. And then a healthy person discussion is coming around on the other side of the table, sitting down and hearing the other person's side and like coming to a healthy solution where both parties feel respected. Kind of how I equate Trump Republicans and Bush Republicans. Like before Trump, like I had a lot of Republican friends, not a lot, but like, you know, some conservative friends, and the ones that like supported, you know, had more conservative views, we were able to sit on the other side of the table and actually like hear each other. But like Trump Republicans are toxic people, you know, if you hear that. Well, I'm imagining most of the Trump supporters that were in my following are no longer. I'm pretty, you know, I'm pretty open about my disdain for that man and the people that follow him. But that's like, you know, that's what it should be. It should be discussion. It should be like hearing each other, talking about each other. Like I said, like we should normalize people learning and saying they were wrong. Like I was talking to my buddy last week, and we have a lot of these discussions, and it's really, really awesome. But we were talking about like change and how we can change. And it's interesting because we have two very different perspectives of the world. I am a youngish. Can we say youngish? I am youngish. Okay, let me real quick sidebar. A kid I used to work with, 25-year-old kid. I once told him I was old because you know, I'm like a decade older than him. I'm like, I don't know, dude, I'm old. And he goes, you're not old. And I was like, well, I'm like a decade older than you. He goes, you're still not old. And I was like, okay. He goes, want to know how I can prove it? And I was like, sure. And he goes, because if you died right now, what would people say about you? I was like, oh, they would say she was so young. And he goes, that's right. And I'm like, I'm going to ride that until, you know, I mean, they say that about you until you're like 60, but I think that is true. You're young until, anyway, I'm a young white woman and he's an older Black guy. And so we have, you know, different views on the world and, you know, obviously very different experiences and how we walk every day in the world. And so we have these awesome conversations. Oh, he's one of my favorite humans. I'm grateful he's in my life. And I wonder if he keeps telling me he's going to listen to this and he hasn't yet. And I wonder if this will be the episode and then he'll know I'm talking about him. But we talk a lot about like, all right, so this is the world, but now what? Like, how do we change it? And it's like there's a couple of issues. One very important one, we don't accept people who change their minds. Like as not everybody, that's not a blanket statement, but like for the most part, we don't normalize that. Like look at Biden. Biden supported a law that was put into office in 1991, and people are still like, yeah, but remember the crime bill? That's what it's called. People are like, yeah, but he supported the crime bill. And it's like, were you the same human in 1991 as you are now? Like, we need to normalize people all shifting their views, right? Like I've said a million times, I went into college saying things like being gay is wrong, abortion is murder. And I use the word illegal alien more than I am comfortable even saying it the one time now, but a lot in college, because that is how I was raised. That was the language and the ideologies I was taught growing up. And I went to college, and like I said, I'm so fucking grateful for the women I met in college that like were like, instead of being like this ignorant bitch, I don't want to be friends with her. There's 3 women specifically, and I know, I don't know if one I don't really talk to much anymore, and one, it doesn't matter. But these 3 women were, and there's no by not talk to, it's just, you know, time and distance and whatever. But these 3 women, instead of being like, fuck that ignorant bitch, they were like, whoa, can we ask you why you feel that way? And then maybe offer another perspective. And I thank God a lot for those women that came in my life. And I want to be that for other people. Like we need to like we need to normalize people changing their mind. Sometimes people were raised in an environment that it was hammered in their head that being gay is a sin and that's wrong. And they heard that every day of their lives from 0 to 18 and like heard nothing but hate speech. And then they come out in the world, they meet their first gay person and they're like, wait a minute, maybe everything I was told was incorrect. But they say this is how I was taught. And then they're met with like, fuck you, bigot. You know what I mean? But if they're like, hey, this is what I taught, but I kind of think I might be wrong. May we, sorry, that's, I'm still a child sometimes. That at least didn't have anything to do with poop. But like it's met with like, fuck you, bigot. And like, we don't want to talk. It's just like, oh, this person wants to learn. And I'm not saying everybody is like this, but in my experience, and I've been guilty of it too. Like when someone has told me their views that I just fully disagree with, I'm guilty of it. My brain shuts down. I'm like, well, fuck this person. But like, what if we were stop doing that? I saw this meme a long time ago where this man was in a wheelchair, white guy in a wheelchair. So he was a veteran. That's why he was in a wheelchair. And there it is again. It does take me like 4 tries. It's really cool. He's holding up a sign and on it says Black Lives Matter. And below it said, thank you for being patient with me. It took me a while to learn, but I'm here now. And like, that's so beautiful to me. Cause it's like that, like, that's how we heal. That's how we change. But if we just automatically assume fuck you, like, it's just, I just don't see and my friend and I talk about that where it's like, we'll never get out of this if we don't stop that. And like the real hatred, the real people who have hatred in their hearts that will never change those views. We need as many people on our side. You know what I mean? Because that hate is so strong and so innate and so buried in people's souls, which sucks. And that's the other thing that's going to be an issue too. It changes that like also there's some humans that'll do what I did or, what Biden did with the crime bill in 91. That is the dumbest argument for people to not like Biden. It's thank God that guy evolved, right? Like if he was the same guy and it's just the dumbest. I can't even engage. Once someone tells me that, which I know just goes ahead and contradicts what I just said, but I told you I'm guilty of it too. And I'm trying to work through it. But once someone says like his crime bill support in 1991, I'm like, you're a goddamn idiot. Where were you in 1991? 1991, I was eating my own boogers privately in the back of the classroom and figuring out how to eat glue and suck my thumb without any of the kids finding out. I didn't have a lot of friends. I think we've all established that. Like we know I wasn't the cool kid, right? I mean, I openly ate Elmer's glue and I was really shy about sucking my thumb, but like I figured out, like I saw this kid suck his thumb one day. And he wasn't sucking it the way I was. He was sucking it like he was just putting it in his mouth and doing a windmill with it. And he looked, he looked stupid, but he looked normal because we were 6. And I was like, I can do that, but be sucking my thumb the whole time. I wasn't as embarrassed about the glue eating. The booger eating that only lasted until I was like 5, probably. Like I had a very clear memory of me sitting on my front stoop with my best friend, Holly Guy. And we were like, and I was like, hey, do you pick your nose and eat it? This is so gross. I'm so sorry, but we're 5. So calm down. It's not me now. But I was like, do you pick your nose and eat it? And she goes, yeah. And I go, oh, okay, cool. And then we just never talked about it again, ever. We never brought it up again. I think about that once a week. Not really, but, so I know I'm guilty of it too, but like I know that people turning people off when they say shit I don't agree with or ignorant shit. But maybe I'm trying to change. I'm evolving. I'm fucking work in progress. I'll never stop being a work in progress. It's really fun. That's sarcasm. Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes it's not. But our other thing about the difficulty in change is there's 2 types of people. The people that I thank God I was like and am like, malleable people, right? Like I think that's the right word. That like they hear a different perspective than something they've heard every day of their lives, and they're able to go, maybe I was wrong, right? Maybe I was wrong. This is one of my biggest shames of my adult life and my opinions. And I will share it now. And I guess you will maybe hopefully put into practice accepting me for my ignorance and hearing me out. When Colin Kaepernick first was kneeling during the anthem, I was on the side of he is disrespecting the flag and he is And I was really upset about it, right? And I couldn't hear his message. Like I was just really upset that he was disrespecting the flag. But I paused when it was a couple weeks in of me like running around and having these arguments with people and people getting really mad at me in my life, right? Like, cause I'm pretty progressive and I'm really open-minded and I love everybody. And I obviously am, a BLM supporter, of course. But I was really upset. And for a couple of weeks, I was going around and I was, getting in a lot of arguments. And one day I paused and I looked at the people that were disagreeing with me. And they were people in my life that I always usually agree with that have pretty progressive views. Most of them were people of color, Black people. And then I looked at the people on the side that I was on, and most of them were white supremacists and Nazis. And I was like, the side of history I am on is the side of history that Nazis are on. Maybe I ought to crack a book. And that's what I did. I was like, maybe I ought to look into this a little bit more because I think there's a disconnect in what I'm thinking and what's actually going on here. And like the other part, and I did, and I looked in, and for those of you who don't know, Kaepernick actually wanted to sit during the anthem. A lot of people don't know this, which is super annoying because people, run their mouths like I did without doing any research. And Kaepernick actually wanted to sit during the anthem, but he went to an military vet, right? A veteran, and asked him what the best way to protest during the anthem would be. And the veteran said, from a U.S. of A veteran said this. So it just makes me so mad that people are like, it's anti-American. And again, I was that way for a couple of weeks. And I one of my deepest shames, because I couldn't blame it on my dad. You know what I mean? Like that guy had been out of my life for like 5 or 6 years at this point. But I mean, I did still have some of the old shit, but like, it's still one of my deepest shames because I, at that point, had been so awake in the world and progressive and whatever. But he asked the veteran, and the veteran said, the best way to protest something while being respectful of the military and the flag and veterans is to kneel. So when you kneel, you are protesting, but you're also showing respect for the country. And so Kaepernick kneeled. And I was like, I was deeply wrong. And I of course looked into why he was kneeling and what he was fighting for, and just like, oh man. And that's what my friend and I were talking about, that and how that's one of the biggest challenges, is because there's two types of people. There's the type of people that I thank God am, that I'm so grateful I am, that will hear that they are wrong and shift and learn and grow and open up their mind and crack a goddamn book, right? And then there's other people that will dig their heels in the sand and die on a hill. And sometimes even die on a hill that like they don't really care that much about it. It's just the fact that they were wrong. And it's, it's like they'd rather carry, this argument instead of turning around and being like, oh, what did I miss here? And we also my friend and I also talk about Kaepernick a lot, and I may tear up a little bit when he said this to me. I was like, God, you're so right. He was like, it's the little guy that always ends up making, like, the unsung hero that makes a difference. Like when Kaepernick entered I almost said the NBA. I know a lot about football. I'm just in this whatever. When he entered the NFL, like no one would have thought in a million years he would be the beginning of a big movement, right? In a million years, that guy was a douche. That guy was a bling bling, bitches and hoes, and a mediocre quarterback. And he started this movement. And obviously he went on the, he followed many before him, but like in the NFL, he was the reason why there's a lot of change and a lot of people who stood up, and a lot of people around the world who looked at something that, like myself, who looked at what was happening to Black people in America for the very first time ever. And that was the first time I was like, holy shit, right? Because I cracked a book, and it's the little guy that makes the difference. It's, it'd be easy if it was the bigger quarterback that everybody already loved, but it's always the little guy that like starts something. I'm going to cry. I don't even know why. It's just really, it's emotional. It moves me. And I think those are the two of the biggest obstacles we have for real change, and it's human nature. And I don't remember why I launched into this. I started off with having COVID. I don't know, but I'm glad I did talk about it, and I'm glad I will say this again: if you are a human that believes in something, and you look to your left, and you're like dead set on what you believe in, and you look to your left and you look to your right, and there's literal Nazis standing next to you, I would maybe crack a book. I don't know. That was just me. I was like, oh, so the people that agree with me, I don't agree with on every level of their being. Every single fiber of who they are, I never agree with. So I might be wrong on this one. The COVID update, yeah. So obviously the breathing is not super fun, but I have new black circles under my eyes. I've never been a person that has black circles under their eyes, and it's new. It looks like I have two little black eyes. It's super cool. I don't know how to get rid of them. Lately I've been sleeping a ton more. I went through a period. It sucks because I went through the period where I was like sleeping only like 6 hours, and it was really awesome because I was getting a lot of shit done. And now I need like 10 hours of sleep a night, and I wake up and I'm still so fucking tired. But I am continuing to listen to my body. I am healing. My buddy gave me a perspective I hadn't thought of yet. The other night I was doing game night with some dear friends of mine. Via Zoom. Don't worry, we're on Zoom, and it's probably been one of the highlights of my whole pandemic. What a weird sentence that we say a lot now. But we were. They asked me how I was doing. My buddy was like, "How are you?" And I was like, "I'm all right." I'm like, some days are good, and sometimes some days are a little bit rougher than others, but I'm okay. And he goes, "You know what? I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but that makes me really happy because there was a period of 2 or 3 months that you were only having bad days." And I hadn't even thought about that. And I was like, yeah, you're right, dude. There was like 2 months where there were no good days at all. Like it was like, and it was really hard and really disheartening. A lot of crying, did a lot of crying, still do a lot of crying, but I think I'm just going to be a crier forever. That's just who I am. I cried once already in this episode, and we're only 20 minutes in. But so like, yeah, it's like he said, it's perspective too. Like, it's like, there was a couple of months where there were no good days, and now there's some good days. So hopefully we will keep on keeping on. I do want to thank, I got a lot of really positive feedback last week from my episode. Me too. I was really nervous about it. Just like a lifetime of being gaslit about our experiences when it comes around quote tiny things that I should just let go, right? And I was fearful that people would be like, that's not that big of a deal. Like, there are people that have been raped, you know what I mean? And like, I don't like, it's like, yeah, obviously I don't think the dude saying that he was masturbating during my set is the same as being raped, obviously. But you get like you hear that most of your life. And I love that our culture and the story is shifting. Like, the story is shifting where it's like, I shouldn't have to deal with that in my workplace. Like, my comedian friend, male, was thinking about the perspective of a woman in comedy, and just a woman in a male dominated profession. And he was like, man, every Friday, he ran a show every Friday, and he was like, which was my favorite show. You know who you are. I believe this is how you said it. I don't hope I'm not butchering your words, but he was like looking at the perspective from the woman and the man. Like, he's like, every Friday or once a month. I think he maybe did it once a month. Doesn't matter. The world ended. But one of my favorite shows to do. I was actually set to headline this show 2 weeks before the shutdowns, and I was so disappointed because like, this is one of those shows that, like, while on stage twice while doing the show, I had the first realization of, I'm a fucking comedian. Like, I'm a stand-up comedian. And I know that sounds a little wild because you're like, yeah, you are a comedian, but you don't. There's a moment where you really feel, there's been a few moments that I've gotten to have so far that I'm like, I'm a fucking comedian. I'm living my fucking dream. And this show is I think probably the first time I felt that. Like, the first time I was like, fuck, which is really funny. The dude I'm getting to know was in the room that night, which we talked about the other day. And he was like, I'll never forget that night. I love that you were there. And he's like, good not forget or bad not forget. And I was like, oh, it was like one of the nights where, like, the first night I was like, I'm a fucking comedian. And I was on a lineup with fucking powerhouses, right? Guys that are on like TV and shit. And like my buddy who we carpooled there, and he's in a movie with Uncle Rico and fucking Liam Neeson. So it was like, which is my favorite thing in the world. Uncle Rico, if you don't know, that's Napoleon Dynamite. I can't remember the guy's real name. I'm really sorry, man. I promised I would learn that. But Uncle Rico came to my bar when I was working at the Korean nightclub. And he came in with his friend, and they're sitting at the bar. And I was like, hey, I really hate to do this. I'm really sorry. And his friend's like, then don't. You know what I mean? Like, this poor man has had to deal with this for like 20 years. Just don't. And I was like, oh, okay. And Uncle Rico was like, no, let her finish. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't going to say what you think I was going to say. So I'm a fan of that movie for sure. But I was just like, my friend was recently in Korea with you working on a movie, and he just had nothing but nice things to say about you. And the guy was like, oh my God. And then we talked about my friend. I don't want him. My friend's name was Justin Ruppel. I don't think he'll mind me like outing him as like a talented fucking guy. He's so fucking talented. But he and I carpooled there. And on the way home, he was like, you're a comedian. Let's talk about your set. Let's break it down. Let's this, let's that. Sidebar, I sent it to a man I was working with at the time, who I've since realized was kind of abusive. And he ripped it apart, and not in a nice way, not in the way that like Justin did. Justin ripped it apart, but in a constructive criticism way. Talked about what was great, what I could work on, what I should do next. And like, it was amazing. And then I sent it to this dude I was working with, and he ripped it apart. Basically, it was just like, you are nowhere near you think you are. Like, fuck that guy, right? But so what I was saying is sorry, I went off on a big tangent because I was really excited about talking about this show that I was asked to headline, and my friend Matt, who runs the show, who's a very funny guy, very very talented, awesome. Hi Matt. He said that I would headline when the world opens back up, if and when, or how we find our new normal. I don't even know what that's going to look like. But we were talking once about just like the difference. And please forgive me, Matt, if I totally butcher this. But like, he was like, I was looking at the perspective of female comics, or just like, it can work for any woman in a male dominated profession. Like, every Friday he gets to go and he's not, of course he doesn't say any of this stuff, but like, he's like any of the shit I was talking about last week, but like, he's like, every Friday I get to go meet with my friends, and we have a good time, and we high five, and we, it's a great time, but it's all men. And it's not all men, but it's mostly a man. I feel so nervous that I'm going to butcher his words now that I've used his name, but I think he cracked the code and knew I was talking about him anyway, especially since we talked about this. But like, he shifted shit, like, because it's, he books women, of course, but there's less women in the industry. That's changing, great, thankfully. But he's like, I think, and then I switched it from the female comic perspective and thought, man, they come here every Friday. A woman comes here every Friday, and like, yeah, there's not any like sexual assault talking. Like, thank God he always books wonderful men, but it is male dominated, and we have to shift how we behave in order to fit into a fully male group, right? And he was like, man, I wonder what that would feel like if I came every Friday and I was the only dude, and it was like 6 women. It would shift you. It would change. Now add to it, you have to be sexualized and talked to in a certain way. And like, that's what it's like. Look at that. You know what I mean? Like, look at that part of it. I don't know if that makes any sense, or if I totally butchered his words, but like so it's like, it's already a little difficult to be in a boys club. It's a little difficult to be in a boys club when they're respectful boys. But then when you enter in I was masturbating during your set. Once again, not Matt, different guy, completely different guy. Just want to make that very clear. And then every male comic laughs and high fives him, and you just are left sitting there being like, oh, if I say that's fucked up and awful, I won't get booked here or in any of their other, and then I'll be deemed as difficult. And like, I'm so grateful that we're shifting that. And I'm, for the most part, don't work with people like that. That was a fluke. I didn't know that man was like that. I won't work with him again. But like, and thankfully, like, it's shifting so much that there's more Matts in the world that book shows and that you work with that are respectful and wonderful, and less the guy that ran this club, right? Like, thankfully it's shifting. But the overall big response I got from last week's was just episode was people being like, thank you for talking about these little incidences. Like, we talk about in terms of like very black and white, right? Like very like there's rape and then there's harassment. And there's like a whole thing in the middle. And what we call that whole thing in the middle, we call misconduct, which just sounds like I want to use a nice word because I don't want to upset the men. And like, fuck you. It's not an assault. It's violating. Like that guy saying that to me made me feel so ashamed and so gross and so unworthy of being on the stage. And fuck that guy, right? But I want to say, oh my foot is going numb. I want to say I'm really grateful for the response I got. I got some emails, I got some messages, and it was just really awesome. So thank you so much, because I was really, really vulnerable and scared to read it, or not read it, talk about it. So I went out in the world yesterday, 2 days ago. Guys, I did my like monthly grocery shopping. I try to do like a big grocery shop once a month, right? To like, hopefully I've almost a year it's been, and I think I've almost figured out the formula to get enough food that's frozen and not frozen, and like eat not like bare bones the last week, right? Because like before it was like I'd get a month food, and then 2 weeks I'd eat awesomely, and then the third week it'd be a little sketchy, and then the fourth week, in order to just be like, okay, I'm really only going to go grocery shopping once a month to be safe, I was eating like mostly ramen and peanut butter, right? And like frozen asparagus. I buy like 6 bags of frozen asparagus. I love asparagus. It really does make your pee smell weird. It took me a long time to believe that, but I wasn't really smelling my pee. And I really started, which I know would shock a lot of you that I don't smell my own pee, but I don't. I have started since the asparagus fiasco. Why am I talking about this? So I went out in the world, and I haven't really been out in a long time, and I'm just marveling at, I asked the cashier at Trader Joe's, I was like, so I don't come out much. We still have people wearing their masks under their nose. That's still a fucking thing? That's still a fucking thing? And the cashier was like, yeah, we know. And I was like, what the fuck? It's been a year, guys. It's been a year. It takes toddlers less time to learn how to piss in a toilet than it has most adults to learn how to wear a goddamn mask. There's two types of people, is what I gathered in my adventure on Monday, that don't wear their mask correctly. Really, really dumb people. Like, you're dumb and you're not aware of the world. And I don't mean like, yeah, you're probably intellectually dumb too, but just like street smart dumb, you're just dumb people. And then there's the person that wears it under their nose or like halfway through their mouth, because they're like, I don't agree with a mask, but like I have to wear it to be in here. So I'm just going to wear it like the bare minimum and like barely wear it just because I want to like protest that I have to wear it. I don't give a fuck. Like those are like the people where you're just like, wow, you just like don't care, but you have to. Also, Target has a really fun announcement that's just like, hi, you have to wear a mask in order to be here. And if you're a person who chooses not to wear masks, we have a fun option of shopping online. Just a really fun way to be like, you fucking idiot, just wear a mask. But I was talking to my dude my friend, he's not my dude yet. I don't know, whatever. I feel so weird about the terminology. It's the weird. And, he's long distance and we haven't gone out in person. And I was like, scale of 1 to 10, we go out for the first time. We're both really excited, right? Like we go out for the first time and I put on my mask and I'm an under the nose mask wearer. What do you do? I was like, I'm going to level with you, dude. I would put out my hand and be like, it was nice, getting to know you. Good luck, you fucking idiot. And then I'd leave. And he goes, yeah, Kim, I wouldn't even do that. I would just leave. I would just like stop and just leave wherever we were. I would just not say a word and just leave you. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. But like, I feel like I'd really need to shame you before I abandoned you. Like, I feel like I really would need to let you know why I was leaving it, just like really humiliate you in public and abandon you. So things are going well. It is interesting. I am having a hard time with this right now. I believe he is not listening to this. If he is, I mean, he's already been warned. If you listen to this, I will be talking about you. So, and I'm pretty open about how I feel, but I'm an avoidant when it comes to relationships. There's a few terminologies in a 12-step program, not my 12-step program, but another one where it was really helpful. And there's love addicts, like people who, like can't be alone and constantly need, a relationship, even if it's not the right relationship. And then there's people that are love avoidant. And I am love avoidant. That's one of the new things that I am working on in my program. And one of the uncovering, it's wild. I'm an onion, we're all onions. I guess that's so cheesy, but like an onion wherever I peel off these layers and I learn something new about myself. I'm burping. I'm so sorry. It was like hiccuping and burping. That's not a thing I like to do on the, on air. But I just drooled too. Gross. So pretty. If you were watching this on YouTube, then you saw me burp, hiccup or something, and then drool. But I'm love avoidant. And what that means that I avoid real intimacy relationships. And in my findings, in my findings, I don't even know what it's, my uncoverings of myself. And it's, it's coming out in this brand new relationship. It's, it's like at the very beginning of even just like where it's hard to even call it that. I mean, obviously it is one. Like I have a relationship with, my friend Roger, who is provided the next 19 weeks of Poopscoop for us. I'm so excited. But you know what I mean? Like, so it's not like, it's such a hard word to say when you're first starting to date someone or get to know someone. You're like, oh, this relationship. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, I don't mean committed, calm down. But like, I'm learning a lot about myself in this relationship. And the more comfortable it gets, or the more we get to know each other, the more I really want to burn it down and walk away. And I'm learning that even though I'm on fire, I don't have to set my house on fire too. Like, even though like old Kim, that when I was uncomfortable in a situation, it was like, well, better burn all of this down. Cause like, I just never want to deal with this again. And now it's like, I'm learning to just sit in this feeling. I'm very uncomfortable. I'm very scared, and he's moving here soon. And so I really, 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 really want that. I also am like, oh God, that's going to be so fucking scary. And I didn't realize that. I was talking to a friend last night, a very good friend of mine who is just, fucking lovely and smart. And we're just on this like journey together, right? Where, I mean, she's my fellow traveler in my program. Therefore I will not be saying her name because of anonymity, but, I was talking about it, and I was just like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling super good about it lately because, and I was just explaining how he hasn't really been available. And by that, I mean, he's like not up my ass all the time, and not that he ever was, but like, and I was like, maybe, and she's like, he's probably just more comfortable now, and probably is like, oh, I don't have to like over the top make sure she knows I'm here. And I'm like, yeah. And I think he's gearing up to move here like soon. I think like the first step of him moving here just happened. And I was like, and I'm really fucking scared. Like, I'm really, really fucking scared. And she goes, yeah, because you're avoidant. That's your avoidance. And I was like, fuck, you're right. That is my avoidance. And why I have that. And I don't know. I only share this too because I was given this by this woman actually like 6 months ago about in my life, I have only been in relationships. I choose unstable relationships, right? With men. I choose unstable relationship, and women, the women that I've slept with, it's like, oh, there will never be intimacy here. Like real intimacy, obviously, like fucking, just kidding. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. But like in my life, I choose, partners that are unstable. And it's not and it's going to be, they're emotionally unavailable. Like it's doomed from the very beginning. Like we look at Jimmy the Dragon. Jimmy the Dragon is unmedicated bipolar coke addict who lives completely off of his parents and is it's very sad on paper. Like I sit and loved that guy a lot. I cared about that guy. I was in such a shitty place at the time that there was no way that I could have loved him. But so I can't say that, but I sent him love a lot because. But I chose that guy because it was unstable and there was no future there. Every relationship I've ever had, I choose because there's no future there, especially even long distance ones. And I'm wondering if I chose this guy last year because he wasn't available, he wasn't living here, he wasn't emotionally available, because that's less scary and I'm avoidant. And now he may come here. He's emotionally available. He's really kind. He's sweet. He's funny as fuck. He's very funny. He thinks he's funnier than me. Not true. He is pretty funny, but not funnier than me. He's smart. He's progressive. Like he's everything I'd want, but now he's going to move here to make it real. And I'm like, I got to burn this down. And because I feel I'm so fucking uncomfortable and I just want to burn it down and walk away. But I'm learning, like I said, that even though I'm on fire, I don't need to set everything else on fire around me. I can just sit with this. And I'm avoidant because, well, as you know, my father sexually abused me and I was, we were in a relationship. There's a thing called covert incest. I mean, yes, there was overt shit there too, but I was his partner. I was my dad's wife, for the lack of a better word, most of my life. And I was his confidant. I was just he made me everything that a partner should have been for him. And that's so damaging. I don't even need to tell you, but so we don't even need to get into the scariness of that. And I know I'm sounding super callous while I'm talking about it, but I've worked through that stuff. I've worked through, but now that I've worked through the initial pain and anger of it, I'm now looking at how that affected me and how that affects me in the world and how I have adult relationships. And that's where a lot of the work comes in, right? Like how I can shift the narrative and shift. So my first my first intimate relationship was with my dad. And not only that bomb, right? But also it was so take. My dad just took and took and took. And then anytime he'd give me anything like basic parent stuff, like shelter or food or clothes, it was met with, you should feel really lucky I'm giving you these things. You don't deserve them. He never said don't deserve them, but he definitely said I should be grateful that I have all of these things because I was told a lot, I should be grateful my dad wanted me because nobody else did. Quotes from family members of mine, quotes, you should be grateful your dad wanted you because nobody else did. And meanwhile, my dad was, touching me in the shower and, porn was everywhere or whatever. Sometimes I just drop too much in this. And so I try to brush over it because I know that it's hard for me to talk about and it's hard for people to hear. I don't know. I'm protecting you and protecting me. I don't know what I'm doing, but that the first intimate relationship I had was so draining. And so he took and took and took. And so I went out in the world and I feel like people, any real relationship I have, like any real intimacy, they will take and take and take, and I will be left with nothing else. And I lived most of my life thinking that subconsciously. It's not even anything I knew that I was doing. I just knew I was picking these dumbasses that weren't available. And now it's oh, of course I can't pick people that are on my level or on my level on all the, spiritually, emotionally fit, all that stuff. I can't pick those guys because then it will be real intimacy. And the only real intimacy I had, the first intimate relationship I had was with a man who just took and took and took and took from me. And it gaslit me into thinking that this was how it's supposed to be. This is how dad and daughter relationships are. And we have a really good relationship and you're lucky I feed you. What? Of course I have intimacy issues. Of course I'm scared of real intimacy. But the real work now comes from, and my little kid brain saw that, right? My little kid brain didn't know that guy was adult Kim is no, that guy was a drunk. That guy was super mentally ill, really sick, super fucked up, and died alone because of that. My adult brain knows all that, but my little kid brain thought that oh, well, I guess this is how it is. This is what that looks like. And now the work is changing the narrative, and I'm doing that, and it's really fucking scary and it's really hard. And when this guy doesn't do exactly what I think he should do in the exact moment, I want to jump ship because I'm looking for literally anything to ruin this, and I don't want to. And I really hope I don't. And I really hope he is the man I think he is. And I really And I really hope he doesn't listen to this because I would rather be the one to tell him most of this stuff. But if so, he already knows that the whole podcast is going to be, I'm like, if you want to learn about my abusive childhood before you hear about it from me, go for it, I guess. But it's been, last week was really tough. And this week has been a little tough too. But I'm a little lighter because I am unveiling all of this stuff and I'm just being really easy with myself. A few people have messaged me about self-care and how what this should I do for my self-care? Because right now it's really hard. It's so funny. It's like, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, why am I in such a fucked up mood? She says a year into a pandemic where she's barely worked and got COVID and can't breathe and has financial, you know what I mean? Like, we got to be so nice to ourselves right now. Like we got to, so like that one is just like, I treat myself like a little kid sometimes. Like when I'm feeling shitty, like I told my guy last week when I was I told him about my rough couple of days and, he was, really, really sweet in there and listening. And he was like, well, now what? And I was like, oh, the next 2 days are going to be cookies and coloring for Kim. And he goes, I think that's a good idea. The next few days should be cookies and coloring. And like that sounds so, but it's just like I'm working with a wounded child. You know what I mean? Like a wounded inner child. And in order to heal that, I need to treat it like I would treat a wounded child. And so just extra nice to yourself. Like even like I said a couple of episodes ago, the happy list. Do the happy list. Write out shit that makes you happy. That makes you feel, lights you up, whatever it is. Like I like to water my plants and then I like to sit by them and look out into the mountains by my apartment. And that lights me up. And so that's on my happy list. It's very little, it's very whatever, but I love it. And so whenever I'm feeling shitty, I go to my happy list and go, okay, I what can I do right now on my happy list to make me feel good? And, and sometimes you have 15 minutes, but it's like people don't make time for that. But that is the most important time to a lot, right? Like if I can't fill up my cup, I can't help you, like that's why you put on your own oxygen mask first when the plane goes down. Because if you don't have your oxygen, you can't help the other person with their oxygen. That's 100%. Like that's how, but like, I allot that time. And then, what's really interesting about the happy list is I don't even physically go to the happy list anymore. I've been working with it for so long that like, it's just an automatic response. Oh, I feel shitty. Okay, I'm going to make some tea and read that book I like. Like, it's just become an automatic response. Also, another thing I shared about that I started doing like 2 weeks ago, which is amazing. And it's so little. And I was like, I thought everybody did this, but I've shared it with a few people and they're like, that's a good idea. I take 10 to 15 minutes before I go to bed and I clean up my apartment. And it doesn't take that long. There's two interesting things that happen with that. It doesn't take that long. And I have a lot more time now because I would just, and it's not like my apartment was like messy, but it's just like, like you leave your shoes by the door and then the next day you leave another pair of shoes by the door. And then like, you don't do that one dish, but then you don't do 4 more dishes. And then you leave a couple things on the table. You know what I mean? Like clutter piles up and then it would be like, fuck, I got to clean my apartment. It's a disaster. And that would be a whole day gone. And now I just take like 15 minutes a night. I do the like 3 dishes in the dishwasher. I clean out the litter. I was usually pretty good about that before just because you don't want your whole house to smell. It's a box of poop. It's wild to me when people don't take care of that. It's a box of poop. When I first got Henry, someone was like, just make sure you clean out your litter box every day. And I was like, yeah, it's a box of poop. What? Of course that's what you do. Of course. Like he doesn't want to poop in there if there's poop in there. And I don't want to have just a box. I don't know, whatever. I could do a whole episode about people who don't clean out their litter boxes. It's wild to me. But like I do all that stuff. And what happens is 1, I go to bed feeling accomplished, a sense of accomplishment. 2, I wake up to a clean home and I start the day with that. And then also I'm realizing that I would use, quote, clean my whole apartment as a way to avoid doing stuff that I want to do because I'm afraid of success. That's going to be another episode because we're running out of time and I have a class at noon. I have a class, so I gotta get this shit out. And I want to read, here we go. Are we ready? Are we ready for the poop scoop, buddy? I'm going to try and I'm going to do better with introducing the poop scoop. But as I said, it took over 40 weeks, but I have ran out of pooping my pants stories. What's really funny is yesterday I had an almost poop my pants story. I was doing laundry and I suddenly had to poop really bad. And then my apartment's a little bit far from our laundry unit. And I was running up to do my laundry or to go poop. And halfway running up, because it was almost going to be emergency, a voice in my head said, I don't know. Why don't you poop your pants? Just poop your pants. You're running out of poop scoop stories, and this may be funny. Would it hurt anybody if you just pooped your pants? And I was like, shut up, brain. I call my brain Brian. I call him Brian. So I'm like, shut up, Brian. We're not pooping our pants. Like, maybe it'll be funny and it'll make a great episode, but think about the mess and you got shit to do today. And some of that shit is not cleaning your pants. And also I like these underwears. So thankfully, I have enough people in my life that have pooped their pants and are willing to share it with me and you. If you have your own poop scoop story, please email it at kymkralspace@gmail.com. And if you have any other, fun things you want to say, you want to just say hi, comment on the episode, or, send me I'm one lucky broad, please send it there too. And if you don't send it there, I won't read it. And I won't read it on air. I mean, I have a lot of people that DM me and they're like, I know you said to email it, but I'm going to do it here. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to remember that you did it here. I have it all in one place. So if you want me to read your poop scoop story, send it to kymkralspace@gmail.com. Okay. That's my last rant. There's like 5 people that literally DM'd me and was like, oh, here's my poop story. I know you said to email it. And I'm like, dude, email it then. And that's all I wrote. I was like, yeah, if you could just email it, just cause whatever, it doesn't matter. I don't need to get into one of my pet peeves is when people don't follow directions, but that's just my controlling aspect of me because I have defects of character. Okay. So this poop scoop comes from my favorite person. I love him a lot. Top 5 favorite people. I tell him he is my best friend all of the time, and he tells me I am not his. Roger Powell, which will make him laugh and make most of you be like, wow, he's probably kidding. I don't think he's kidding. One time I told him he was my top 5 favorite people, and then he listed 25 people that he loved more than me. And that does sound really mean when I say it out loud, but understand that he is one of my best friends, and he was probably kidding. Okay, and he said I could use his name. Also, when you email me your poop scoop stories, let me know if I can use your name. And he sent me like 19 of them. And I haven't read them out loud, and I'm very excited right now. I'm trying to build this up more than I need to. Okay. Here we go. He also titled them all, which is a true professional. He titled all his pooping his pants stories. This one is called High School Lacrosse. After a Friday night of drinking, we had a Saturday morning lacrosse practice. About an hour in, my tummy started to rumble. Coaches don't like when we need to leave practice to go potty, as if 15 to 17-year-olds no longer have bodily functions, but I digress. That is so true. What is that with high school? They're like, you don't need to go to the bathroom. Like a lot of teachers were like, do you really need to go to the bathroom? Yes, I really need to go to the bathroom. What's with the fucking 3rd degree every time I need to pee? Maybe that's why I hold it so much. Maybe that's why we're a generation of people who just shit their pants now. Okay. So I finally reached the point where I knew I couldn't hold it anymore and just said, Coach, sorry, got to go to the bathroom. Coach was pissed, but I had hit the point of no return and didn't wait for his approval. I gingerly jogged off the field toward the locker room, which was about 70 yards away from the field. When I was about 7 yards from the door, my sphincter lock broke. My sphincter lock broke. Oh my God, it's so good. And I sharted. Oh my God. I felt it going down my leg. That's not a shart, Roger. That's a poop. If it comes out of your underwear, you shit your pants, bro. Sorry, I'm yelling. I start down my leg. Thankfully, it was Saturday practice, so the locker room was completely empty. I got to the stall, released my poop, released it. Finally feeling better and empty, I reached for the toilet paper, and of course, there was none. So I got up, Donald ducked it to the trash can and threw away my soil undies. Yeah, he gave an explanation. If you don't know what Donald Duck is, it equals shirt, no bottoms. We all knew that, right? Or you can call it Winnie the Pooh too. Donald Duck, Winnie the Pooh. Next, I checked the other stalls and no luck. Not sure what I was expecting at a public school locker room shitter on a Saturday, but I had to check. Wait, now I checked the stalls and no luck. Not sure. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Oh, because like they weren't. I was like, why is there a toilet paper? I guess like they fill it up on Monday morning. I don't know. I'm getting technical. So I go to the locker room area. Do you still have no pants on? I go to the locker room area and you still haven't wiped? What's happening? So I go to the locker room area and start opening unlocked lockers until I found someone's socks. He answered my question. I brought the socks back to the sink stall area where I cleaned up as fast as I could. I threw the socks on top of the boxers and covered them with existing trash. Like a teenager hiding a pregnancy test, or like everybody hiding their soiled poopy panties, right? I've taken my underwear and hid them in the bottom of many trash cans. Sometimes they're not mine, but usually they are. Finally, I rejoined practice, free-balling it. I was a starter on a small team, so unfortunately, I had to immediately get back on the field. The guy defending me was one of my buddies who said, "You okay? What's that on your cleat?" Oh no. I looked down and noticed that I had missed a spot. Yeah, you didn't shart, Roger. You shit your pants. Spot. There was a poop stain in the middle of my toe on my right cleat. Just some mud, dude. Why wouldn't you say? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I have to have panicked and lied on the spot. I didn't want to tell my boys until what happened until after practice. Otherwise, the whole team and coaching staff would have eviscerated me for the rest of the year. I don't mind if my boys make fun of me, but not those other jagoffs. My boys make fun of. Oh God, that's so good. That's so fucking good. I love that you walked around a locker room, which sounds like probably 15 minutes. And looked for a way to wipe and clean up. That's so good. Oh man, that's so good. Thank you. It just puts me in the best mood. All right, guys, that was your poop scoop. Again, if you want to share with your story, send it to kimkralspace@gmail.com. I'm going to round it out with some I'm one lucky broad. I know I say it a lot, probably the same one every week. I don't know. Maybe we'll put them all together one time. I'll edit them all together and they'll probably be a variation of the same thing, but it's true. I'm one lucky broad that I have a vastly different type of person in my life that I get to learn daily about the world. I recommend not just having people that look like you in your life or have the same experiences as you. And I don't just mean like race and gender. I just mean like in general. I have a lot of white girl friends who had very different upbringings and I learn from them all the time. So but of course, I'm so grateful that I have many different people in my life that I get to learn every day from. And I hope I never stop learning. And I hope I just never stop learning. And I hope when I'm wrong, I always am able to be like, well, I might be wrong and look at that too. And I hope the same for you. So I'm one lucky broad. That's it. That's our show. If you would, please leave me a review and a rating. I would really appreciate it. It just really helps get the podcast more visible. I think I got a few new reviews, which I'm really excited about. So thank you so much. It just makes all the podcast platforms push your podcast forward so more people can hear it. So if you're wondering why I'm always pushing the reviews, it just really helps me. So if you get a chance, please, I'm going to read a review I'm going to read a review every week. And I just want to say thank you. I'm one lucky broad for you too. This comes from Mary May 1313. The title is Poop ... That's a fair title. I love this woman so much. I love this woman so much. No shame. Love you, darling. Thank you for making me laugh. Thank you, Mary May. I'm not 100%. I think I know who that is, but I'm not 100%. But thank you so much. Thank you for the review and thank you for listening. That's it. That's the show, guys. If you get a second, please follow me on all of the socials, KYMKRAL, except for Clubhouse. Somebody got Kim Kral on Clubhouse, which makes me not want to go to it, but My username on that is Kim Kral Space. So this woman's name's not even Kim Kral. Just annoys me. It just annoys me. I'm like, who are you? Her name's like Kim Kralkovich. I think I talk about this every week. I'm genuinely pissed about it. But yeah, give me a follow on everything, KYMKRAL. Please drop me a line. I'm responding to emails today, by the way. There's a chunk of time that I put together to respond to emails. I got about 8 that I need to, that's a lie. There's only 3. But there's a lot of Poopscoop that I'm not responding to because I'm just going to read on there. But so I don't know why I lied to you. I just wanted to sound cooler than I am. I don't know why, but here we are. Thank you for listening to me and thank you for relating to me. And I love you all. I hope you have a good week and you're safe. And that's it. Bye. Kral Space, I'm Kral.